Chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Posey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Bernanke, I want to compliment you on your forthrightness. It's something that unfortunately we don't see that much of on this side of that table, and thank you for being so frank with us when you appear before us. In your statement, it indicated until we see a sustained period of stronger growth creation, we cannot consider this recovery to be truly established. Is it fair to say then that despite the claims from the academics to the contrary, that this indicates the recession is not yet bottomed out?
Again, the recession is a technical term. It just means that, that the decline has stopped and that we're now growing. So we have been growing, but I would say that if the labor market doesn't continue to improve, the risk would be that consumers would see unemployment going back up again. They would lose confidence, and then you would have increasing risk that the thing might stall out. So that's the risk, although I think that risk has declined in the last few months.
Okay. I assume part of the Fed's goal with QE2 is to provide an influx of capital into the economy to ensure that our financial institutions have adequate capital to lend for housing construction, commercial purposes and stuff. And given that goal, I wanted to call your attention to a recent proposed regulation by the Internal Revenue Service that could have a pretty devastating impact on our financial institutions, I believe. The proposed IRS rule would force banks to hand over interest payment information on foreign deposits. There would be no tax on the interest earned, but the IRS would turn this information over to a foreigner's home country, which could have some adverse impacts on people who deposit their money here, which we enjoy using in our economy. The proposed rule could lead to, I'm told, between $200 and $400 billion leaving our country and going to lower tax jurisdictions. Obviously, that could be very harmful to our economy, and just wondered if you agree that this is a bad idea. I mean, I think it was a bad idea in 2001 when it was proposed before, and the administration and Congress opposed it and defeated it. Just wondered if you think it's as bad an idea right now as I do.
Well, I hesitate to make a judgment, not having read this regulation. It is the case that the United States has recently negotiated with Switzerland to get more information about Americans' bank accounts in Switzerland because a lot of that was being used for tax evasion. I don't know whether this is parallel to that or not, or whether it's related to that or not. So if I could just, you just said I was forthright. I think I would like to say no comment on this one until I can look at the regulation more carefully.
Okay. Given the facts that I'm aware of, and it's a proposed rule at this point, what Switzerland does is Switzerland's business. What we do is our business. I don't want us to be like Switzerland in a great number of ways, and I'll leave it at that. I touch on this second issue because I've had personal stories about it happening in my district, and I know it's not a bad dream, and discussed it with Secretary Geithner yesterday, and that is regulators basically over-regulation back in our districts, go to a bank to examine a bank and determine that, in their opinion, a performing loan should not be a performing loan, which causes the bank, obviously, to have to take that off their books. They can't earn interest on it, and you know the consequences of a markdown. It's very, very damaging. I'm told that the examiners have been directed not to micromanage these lending services, and I just wonder what we can do about it.
Yes, we have. I should just say that we've made enormous effort to train the examiners, to issue guidances, to have outreach conferences, to have meetings with small bankers and small businesses. So we're trying real hard. We're trying real hard. I know that maybe on the ground level it doesn't always work, but we are trying hard. What I would recommend to your constituent is to call if it's a Federal Reserve examiner as opposed to OCC or FDIC, We do have an ombudsman who will follow through, and without giving the name to the examiners, so they won't you have to worry about any kind of retaliation or anything like that. We will try to follow through if there are specific concerns. So please let us hear from them, and we will see what we can do.
You realize that how serious a problem that is then, and I'm grateful that you do.
Absolutely.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The chair now recognizes